Chairman, Governors, distinguished guests, Foundation trustees, ladies and gentlemen, and most of all, members of the school. Welcome to Bromsgrove School Commemoration Day 2015. It's a particular pleasure to see our distinguished former headmaster Tim Taylor and his wife Margaret here today. I welcome them and all of you here on this special occasion. Last year, we broke with tradition when the headmaster asked if, as president, I would take on his traditional role of reviewing the year gone by to allow him the freedom from recording school events to speak, or perform, I should say, more generally. I do keep a close eye on things at Bromsgrove and offer some first-hand reporting, but the school has supplied most of the details from this for this report, as you would expect. When one outstanding headmaster leaves and a new one arrives, there's a reasonable concern that the momentum may not be maintained and that it would take some time before all guns are firing again. But not a bit of it. Mr. Clegg has hit the ground running, if I can mix metaphors, and there is, as usual, much to report. A-level and IB results were our best ever. 86% of our students gained A-star or up to B grades at A-level. Our IB diploma students averaged a spectacular 37.6 points. That's the equivalent to 4 A-stars. This placed us in the top 10 of all the UK's co-ed day/boarding schools. Every entry bar none of our small cohort of BTEC results were graded at starred distinction level, placing us first in the land. Measures of value added, perhaps the fairest comparison between schools, confirmed us in the top 10% of all UK independent schools. Indeed, few schools, other than the very highly selective, achieved better examination results. Almost all who applied to university from Bromsgrove got their first choice. The most popular universities were Exeter, King's London, UCL and LSE, Bath, Birmingham, Manchester and Warwick. In the past, GCSE results have been overshadowed by A-level, but with a third of results graded at A-star and 2/3 achieving either an A or an A-star, our fifth form achieved the school's best ever results. So what of this year? Well, we're pushing further into academically demanding territory. We've had 70 students undertaking a significant piece of independent university-level research, either under the IB umbrella or as the standalone extended project qualification. We have embraced IB self-taught literature with unrivaled rigour. For the first time, we have British students studying Mandarin and finding it immensely challenging, which just reminds us in the school community how impressive are the achievements of our many international students who study in what is for them a foreign language. If there were ever years in the past when we've doubted the ambition of our students, we now have good reason to be proud of the challenges they undertake and the discipline they show in acquiring new knowledge and skills. From attendance at governors' meetings and experience as a teacher, parent, and now a grandparent, I'm well aware that success in education is not simply a matter of a quick dash to good exam results. What we celebrate today are the results of our students' hard work over several years and the effective, caring support that has been given to them by all their teachers and you, their families at home. We cannot say what results the majority of students sitting in front of us will achieve, but Mr. Rubin confidently confides that the vast majority have had an exceptionally studious year, working with vigour and purpose. They will look back with few regrets, knowing that they have made the most of their academic ability. Their fine individual academic achievements in national competitions are already known, and significantly, 4 of our students have gained scholarship awards in United States universities. Those who were at Commem last year will remember Mr. Edwards wishing Mr. Clegg every success as he handed over the school flag at call-over. In a message for us today from Singapore, he said, "I follow events from afar with a proud and passionate eye, cheering every success and spreading the word wherever I go. I wish Philip a happy retirement and congratulate the Bromsgrove community on its continuing successes. I now know what a privilege it is to say I was at Bromsgrove. From all that I observe, I believe that the efforts of the selection committee in finding the new headmaster are being well rewarded. Mr. Clegg has had an excellent year, along with his executive team, in promoting success in so many aspects of the life of the school. We wish him every good fortune in any difficulties which lie ahead. At least he has the possible triumphs of the All Blacks in the World Cup to look forward to, even if he has to put behind him the inability of New Zealand to demolish England in the excellent World Cricket Series. The headmaster has been thoroughly involved in all aspects of Bromsgrove life, not least the development of a whole school digital technology strategy and the harmonisation of the timetables of the prep and senior schools. He is to the fore in promoting the policy of offering a breadth of education which few other schools can rival, and more remarkably, achieving success in most of the activities. Remember this when you're listening to the citations for those winning prizes later. Our thespians, debaters, musicians, CCF students, CCF cadets, sportsmen and women, and those participating in countless other activities have achieved great things. But first and foremost, almost all have proven themselves students who deserve to be taken seriously. In all these activities, within and without the classroom, it is the teachers who provide the spark to ignite the success enjoyed by the students. For all this, the headmaster, senior management team, and all the teachers deserve our heartfelt thanks and congratulations. Spectacular success is much to be enjoyed, but we take as much pride in ensuring that every student has the opportunity to develop talents in different areas. This school is not just about the stars. Every Saturday in the Michaelmas and Lent terms, 25 teams will be playing in our colours, competing well and with fine sportsmanship. Many pupils represent the county, some the country. We again hosted the girls' national indoor hockey finals and were delighted to be able to cheer on our under-16s to success. Much has been said and written about that day at Twickenham, which captured the imagination of so many, avid rugby fans or not. Suffice it to say that by the very nature of the sport, the venue, the accomplishment, few would dispute that it was probably the most famous victory in our entire sporting history. But above all, it was such a heart-warming event for all Bromsgrovians, the many who travelled to the match, the many like me who watched on television, and our supporters from all over the world. Shall we just have one more round of applause for us? But such tributes could be paid to all the teams and sports at Bromsgrove. I can mention just a few as illustrations. The under-14 netball team crowned Midlands champions and representing the West Midlands at the national finals. The junior boys reaching the national swimming finals in the Olympic pool for both freestyle and medley events, relays. The intermediate girls reaching the national cross-country finals at Newquay. The rugby sevens teams losing only 8 out of 50 games they played, and the girls badminton team not losing a single game in all the season. This term, the cricket first 11 won the Chesterton Cup at the county ground for the 3rd year in a row. The musical life of the school is thriving, and support is given to the Bromsgrove International Music Festival. Apart from an array of concerts matching the best of the past, our chapel choir has led our worship with great distinction. I thought today that the quartet in the middle of the Te Deum was probably the finest rendering of that I've heard, so my congratulations to those who were singing. Well done. But they've made a fine impression wherever they've gone, to the various cathedrals, and I'm delighted in listening to them singing at Peterborough Cathedral, which is near where I live. They did it very well indeed. The governors are determined that the musicians should have facilities which encourage talents to blossom, and will not relax until the next major project, the development of Routh Hall as a performance and teaching centre, is completed. After a memorable winter's tale at the Artrix, drama breaks exciting new ground with the sixth form studio production of Lear transferring to the Edinburgh Fringe in August. Fame is spreading, with Ian McKellen tweeting some advice to Karen Wong, our female Lear. Debating thrives too, along with representation at the European Youth Parliament and the Model United Nations. Service remains a vital part of life at Bromsgrove. With a third of the school in the CCF, it is one of the largest in the country, and from September it will include cadets from both local high schools. Each year, a succession of Bromsgrovians head for St James's Palace to receive their Duke of Edinburgh Gold Award, and this academic year it was usually presented by the Duke himself. Much excellent work is done in supporting local charity shops, homes for the elderly, conservation projects and animal refuge. For all these and many other triumphs, our students deserve our applause. The amazing programme of building development and maintenance continues apace. Do you know, in the last 10 years, the school has invested over £27 million in such projects. And more is to come as governors ensure that Bromsgrove has facilities which bear comparison with the best. In house and dining accommodation, teaching facilities, sport and now the arts, progress has been spectacular. And yet the beauty of the campus has been retained. We want our students to enjoy a pleasant physical environment as boarders or day students, for this promotes a happy and effective education. Future generations will be able to look back on this golden age with the help of our first school archivist and a school museum. The school has adapted remarkably well, cheerfully and patiently to the continuing and continued to operate while rebuilding has gone on around them. The dining hall is perhaps the most notable example, though the magnificent award-winning restoration of Houseman was completed without losing any students. I chose those words carefully. Now, the same is happening as day houses undergo major refurbishment. Though we are benefiting greatly from being able to decant day students to the recently acquired and much enhanced police station, with all the obvious jokes. This is perhaps the best time to thank our 400 support staff who, under the inspired leadership of our bursar Leslie Brooks, achieved remarkable standards of service and maintenance. Many of the successes referred to earlier would simply not have been achieved without their support, loyalty, skill and determination to do their best for Bromsgrove. They deserve our thanks. We're all part of a large family and a community with many elements. Parents who make the great sacrifices to ensure that their children have the best education. Old Bromsgrovians who remember their school with affection and seek to help future generations. Trustees of the foundation who are dedicated to supporting the school in its development. And governors who set aside huge amounts of time and energy and expertise to ensure that the school flourishes. For some who have served Bromsgrove long and faithfully, there is the honour of election to the position of Vice President. I'm delighted to see several here today, and we announce that Dick Noak, Old Bromsgrovian Governor, Chairman of the Foundation, has kindly accepted the invitation to become a Vice President. To him and to all those serving the school in a voluntary capacity, we show our thanks. Philip Bowen has masterminded very many commems, but today is his last, and he has yet to announce this year's prize winners. Not wishing to steal the thunder of what is to come, I simply thank him for our personal friendship and say that we were much moved by his excellent sermon and message in the Founders' Day service today. Philip encapsulates so many of the virtues we are praising in others today. There is so much I shall miss when you go, Philip. But retirement actually, you'll find, is the busiest part of your life. We'll miss, not least, the letters which have kept me abreast of all that goes on in the school. But I look forward very much to the publication of his history of this school, which has been outstandingly trailed in recent lectures. So later, Mr. Bowen will announce the prize winners, but first, we ask the headmaster to give his speech.
Why are you going to the UK, they said. The weather's awful, they said. It's always raining, they said. So on this lovely summer's morning, please allow me to add my very warm welcome to you all to this, my first commem at Bromsgrove. There are far too many distinguished guests to risk singling any out, so can I simply reiterate a point made at the school assembly last week, that this is not just the day for pupils and staff who are invested in this place, all of you who are Bromsgrovians for life. It is a great pleasure to see you here, so many alumni, so many members of the wider community. It's become very fashionable in recent times to refer to the school's stakeholders. To me, you are the Bromsgrove family, and you are most welcome at your school today. I say this is my first commem, but actually it is my second. 1 year ago I sat on this very stage when my predecessor gave his final address. Although I was in the midst of my own farewells back in New Zealand, Mr. Edwards had suggested that if there was any chance of my being able to be here for commem, I would taste the essence of all that is Bromsgrove in a single day. So after nearly 28 hours in an aircraft, I found myself in this marquee, seated right there, feeling quite smug. I'd just been to a very moving ceremony in the Thomas Cook's room, a magnificent leavers service in St John's, and I was sitting there thinking, this is fantastic. I could really fit in here. Look at all these glamorous people in hats. Which was quite a revelation for me, because when the search firm first approached me about the possibility of applying for a headship in the UK, I politely declined. The truth was that I thought my next school, and you have no idea how much it pains me to say this, would be in Australia. I know. Having been a geography teacher in New Zealand, I've always taught lessons about the great topographical disadvantage of Australia. That it is above sea level. And its huge demographic problem, that it is inhabited. My history lessons used to consist of retelling the story of New Zealand Prime Minister Sir Robert Muldoon, who was once asked by a journalist whether he was worried about the number of New Zealanders who were emigrating to Australia each week, to which he replied, "Not at all, it's raising the IQ of both countries." I could do this all day. Anyway, thankfully the recruiters persisted. They said to me that if I could just put aside any preconceptions I had about elitist British public schools for one moment and come over for a visit to Bromsgrove, I would not be disappointed. And how right they were. From the moment that my wife Sandra and I set foot on these magnificent grounds, we were met with warmth, humility, and a quiet but justifiable pride amongst all connected with this place. There exists in this school a truly remarkable culture, and it has been humbling for both of us to have been embraced by it this year. But back to that day 1 year ago, and there I am sitting there feeling all warm and fuzzy, a feeling which lasted right up until the minute that my predecessor finished his speech, and then nonchalantly wandered over to a grand piano that just happened to be sitting over there, and played and sang the song that he had personally written and composed specifically for this occasion. At the end of which, the Chairman of Governors leaned over to me and whispered, "No pressure." The observant amongst you will notice there is no grand piano here today. Have I felt any pressure this year? Only the good sort. Only the sort that gets you up in the morning with a smile on your face and some pride in your heart. To be the steward of such rich history, to be the colleague of exceptional educators, and to be in the service of such remarkably talented young men and women. Best job in the world. Great responsibility, but a great privilege as well. And Commem is again what it has been since its inception, a celebration of all who are in any way connected with this wonderful school. But right now, against the backdrop of another remarkable year's achievements, which the President has just outlined, and I'm most grateful to you, sir, for doing so, right now there is one particular group to whom I would like to focus my comments. And so parents, distinguished guests, old Bromsgrovians, I wonder if you would indulge me if I use this last opportunity to speak to our leaders. Maybe what I'm about to say will have some resonance for you too. If not, spend the next 10 minutes looking attentive, thinking happy thoughts, perhaps replaying the recent England-New Zealand cricket series in your head. Upper sixth, I want to tell you a quick story. You know, I think that in the past I was an outdoor education instructor. That too was a dream job. Days spent in the hills and the mountains, rivers and oceans, D&V trips, kayaking, climbing, hiking. I've learnt in this country you call it hiking. In my country we call it tramping, but if you tell someone here you're keen to go for a tramp, they think you want to chase a homeless person. Anyway, I'm used to running leadership courses in the outdoors, team bonding exercises, all that sort of thing, all very gung-ho. And I want to tell you a lesson I once learned. You thought you'd finished with lessons, but you've got to endure one more. The New Zealand forests are much thicker than those in the UK. The same may be true of our rugby players, I'm not sure. Anyway, in New Zealand you cannot stroll easily through the woods as you sometimes can in Britain. You either follow well-formed tracks or you fight your way through the thick undergrowth like an ant in a scourer. When you're not under canvas, you sometimes sleep in old forest huts for shelter, very rudimentary, rough timber walls, bit of corrugated iron for a roof, that sort of thing. Bit of stream nearby for drinking water, but certainly no flush toilets. What they have in New Zealand bush huts are colloquially known as the long drop, which, as the name suggests, is a deep hole dug in the ground around which a small wooden shelter is erected and not much else. Charming places. So here I am one day, having arrived at just such a bush hut, exhausted after a big climb, and there's a couple of pig hunters in residence, complete with their dogs. Pigs do a lot of damage to the New Zealand flora and fauna and are often hunted. Before Dr. Thompson and the other ardent vegetarians attacked me, I wasn't the one doing the hunting. Anyway, I said hello to the pig hunters, I slung a billy of tea over the fire, dragged my sleeping bag out, settled down for the evening, and just on dusk I needed to answer the call of nature. So I grabbed a torch, slipped out of the hut, and headed down the short path to the long drop. Or I tried to, because staking out the mouth of the track to the toilet was one of the hunter's dogs. Now, I love dogs, I've always had one, but pig dogs, it would have to be said, are not the prettiest of their species, nor the most friendly. They make pit bulls look cuddly. This one looked fearsome, it looked hungry, and then it looked up, and it sniffed. The hunters told me they had had no luck for days, and it occurred to me at that moment, having been sweating up and down hills for a week without washing, it was possible that I didn't smell all that different from their prey. So discretion being the better part of valour, I just slowly backed away. But I was still desperate, so I had to find another route, which was easier said than done. In order to avoid upsetting the hound from hell, which had now started to salivate, I had to forge a new path away from the hut, big, long, sweeping route, hacking and bashing through the scrub, getting thoroughly cut and scratched as I went. Not easy going. And when I finally returned, the beast was still sitting there guarding the path. In fact, it took up residence there for the next 2 days. Even the hunters thought better of arguing with their ravenous mutt, and so every journey any of us made, it was the long route to the long drop. Jump forward 9 years. I'm back in the same forest, returned to the same hut. Very remote place. Other hikers and hunters would have come and gone over the years, but the bush would have regenerated many, many times. So imagine my surprise to discover the meandering detour that I had clumsily cut in desperation one evening nearly a decade ago was now a well-formed path through the thick undergrowth. Of the original short toilet track, the shortest, most obvious route, there was no trace, completely grown over. And although the dog from Hades had long since vacated his post, future visitors had simply followed in the steps of those most recently departed, and so a new route had formed. Whether anyone ever paused to wonder in the wind and the rain and the dark why they were traipsing for miles to go to the toilet, I don't know. It simply became the way to go when one needed to go. So, you are asking, what does a long drop loo and a carnivorous canine in some remote forest in New Zealand have to do with leaving Bromsgrove School on a sunny summer's afternoon? Just this. There lies between your ears an equally dense and fertile undergrowth, commonly referred to as your brain. Actually, dense is probably not the right word to use. For a long time, it has been a mystery. Not your brain personally, although it may have been a mystery to your parents sometimes. I mean the human brain in general. But we live now in an age of scientific revelation. Knowledge begets new knowledge, and neuroscience is opening a window into that human brain. And through it, we start to get a glimpse of answers to big questions. How does the mind work? Where is consciousness located? What makes us, us? At this moment, I am completely in the mercy of my deputy headmaster, who did this so much more eloquently than me this morning, and I only wish we had concluded before he gave that magnificent sermon. You are the proud owner of your very own brain, and you should all be desperately interested and joyously fascinated in how it works. I am. I want to know your minds. I want to understand my own. As science begins to unravel its remarkable construction, what are we learning? That it is like a forest, that billions of neurons packed into your skull like thick bushes, axons and dendrites, entangled and entwined like branches and vines, and your thoughts make pathways through your brain. The instant a new idea sparks in your mind, it pushes away through that tangle. Impulses jump from one neuron to the next. Think that same thought a second time, the way becomes a path. Think it again, the path becomes a track. Neurons that fire together, wire together. The more you think, the more it sticks. That's what all that prep was about. It did actually have a purpose. Repetition cuts tracks in the mind. Associate Miss Scannell with her new golf cart often enough, and the rest of your life, every time you pass a golf course, you will subconsciously be checking to see if you are dressed appropriately. That's how it works. So to you, the upper sixth, that's what these past 15 years have been all about. All this messing with your mind. You thought we were filling it up with useful stuff like quadratic equations and Civil War dates and Latin declensions. And to a degree we were. But we've been doing more. We've been in there with a machete, cutting tracks, trailblazing, laying down paths. If you can remember things, you've done well. If you can think about things, we've done well. If you can think about how you think about things, that is profound. Cogito ergo sum. the great philosopher René Descartes. I think, therefore I am. Your whole being, your experience of the life that you are living is a function of how you think. You literally are the paths you have forged in your brains. Shakespeare knew it too. He gave Hamlet the wisdom to say, for there is nothing either good or bad, that thinking makes it so. How we interpret the events of the world is a function of the pathways we laid down in our brains. Nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And why does that all matter? Because this is where you will live for the rest of your lives. You can take your body to live anywhere on the planet once you leave these gates. There is a big, wide world outside of Bromsgrove. Hard to believe, I know, but true. But you will live the rest of your conscious life in your same brain. And my point is that the paths you forge in your mind will determine the routes you follow in life. Glass half empty, glass half full. Same glass, different habits of mind. Fill your mind with worries and fears, you will only ever inhabit a scary world. Fill it with optimism and faith, and that very same world will be your playground. What befalls you from here on out, it's not fate, it's not chance, and you know it is most certainly not luck. It's how you've trained your brain and how you continue to train it. People wean themselves off all sorts of bad habits, smoking, drinking, overeating, all sorts of phobias, understanding their own thinking and rerouting their thoughts. If you can think yourself into a habit, you can think yourself out of it. A word of caution though, you can't think yourself out of a tattoo. Just say. Whenever a thought sets out in your mind, it faces a choice, the automatic temptation, the familiar path, or the challenge of new thinking. So too in life. When your mind encounters some resistance or obstacle, think your way past. We all have a few big, snarling, slobbering pig dogs up here. Fear, doubt, insecurity. They'll all find a nice, comfortable spot in your minds to take up station. When you encounter one, don't slink back to the safety of the hut. Think your way around it. Most of all, though, be encouraged that you already have mapped out many, many mental highways because you are a Bromsgrovian. You know how highly I regard the traditions of this school, our ways of behaving that are special to this place, that speak of our value and our heritage. I've been banging on and Ralph all year about the importance of the little daily habits of respect which sustain those traditions. The eye contact, the smile, the handshake, a word of thanks to those who serve, a hand of friendship, random acts of kindness. Just as your feet have learned to automatically follow the acceptable routes around the school, so too your brains have learned to follow the pathways of respectful and responsible conduct. Those are the intellectual, social and emotional paths that we have tried to instill in you. If your brain sees the good in a situation before it appraises the bad, we've done our job. If your mind's eye can look upon itself with an equal gaze of humility and pride, we've done our job. If your first instinct when meeting someone who's different is to be intrigued, not repulsed, to be welcoming, not resistant, we've done our job. And if your first thought is for the needs of others over your own, we've done our job. So let me state this in front of your proud teachers and your even prouder families. Looking out at you all now, I believe we've done our job. Thank you. I owe a debt of thanks to many people for making my first year at Bromsgrove so rewarding, but none more so than the Deputy Headmaster, Mr. Bowen, who deferred his well-deserved retirement by a year in order to help me find my feet. I've already spoken at length at his farewell this morning about his many virtues and his great service to the school over the past 3 decades. He has been, I suggested to colleagues, a man for all seasons, and I elaborated upon the enormous impact that he has made on so many young lives. Such is his contribution that it is fitting to acknowledge it again this morning in front of the wider school. And to do so on our behalf, it is my great pleasure to introduce past Chairman of Governors, Mr. Matthew.
Thank you, Headmaster. Ladies and gentlemen and Bromsgrovians, a rare wise owl has been resident on a fine perch overlooking Gordon Green for the past 34 years. The owl has been a stable patriarch for this time and has been respected by all us wildlife that he oversees. His wise counsel knows no comparison. He is due to fly off to pastures anew, and his departure leaves a great sadness in the local habitat. But he has taught us well, and we will survive. Not my words, but those of Matthew Lynch of School House. Matthew's perceptive and clever metaphor describes a man we immediately recognise and to whom we honour today. Who else but Mr. Philip St. John Bowen, teacher, preacher, mentor, the true shepherd of the Bromsgrove flock. 41 years ago, aged 23 and newly married to Jane, he was just a bird of passage and reluctant to roost at Bromsgrove. With a great urge for travel and knowledge, which is as fresh today as it was then, and after just 4 terms in our prep school, the Bowens took off to teach in a remote township in Zambia. So remote that the nearest tarmac road was 100 miles away. There they stayed for 5.5 years. When not impersonating Indiana Jones and dodging live bullets and falling into hippo traps, in quieter moments, it permitted the young schoolmaster to indulge his lifelong love of ornithology. And this was not without success, for Mr. Bowen is officially recognised for the discovery of the eggs of the black and rufous swallows. Before the headmaster gave his very personal tribute to Mr. Bowen to the staff on Wednesday, I think it could be said that not a lot of people knew that. Fortunately for Bromsgrove, the nomads returned, now with 2 fledglings, Sarah and Eleanor, in tow. Mr. Bowen came to teach history, politics, and later religious studies in the senior school. His potential was quickly recognised, and after 2 years of serving as a housemaster of School House in 1984, the then headmaster, Tim Taylor, appointed him housemaster of the newly formed Wendron and Gordon. And only 5 years later, Mr. Taylor appointed him deputy head, while he continued as housemaster of WG. Simple stats and facts of his long service paint only part of the picture. He has been central to Bromsgrove's success and growth, from a good school to a great school. Of his 34 years on the payroll, 26 as deputy headmaster, under 4 headmaster, he's attended over 1,100 Routh assemblies, 2,800 chapels, supervised 1,000 school detentions, and been snapped 13 times in school photographs. His capacity knows no bounds, proving that he can turn his hand to pretty much anything. He ran admissions for 8 years, during which the school numbers doubled. He was responsible for marketing for 5 years. He was the natural choice for chaplain for 2 terms during an interregnum. He organised the school's tercentenary concert in 1993, an absolute sellout at Birmingham Symphony Hall. But foremost, he is the authority on the history of the school. Last week, he gave the last of his presentations of the school's history, a series of which inspired his book Bromsgrove School at War 1914 to 1919. At least one sequel is in the pipeline. And this adds to the 16 historical plaques and information boards that he has installed around the school. But whilst being a traditionalist, he is at the same time a great visionary. He started the popular candlelit Christmas Advent service in the chapel. He's been responsible for enhancing the landscape of the campus by numerous tree planting. We may all be forgiven that the symbolic lowering of the flag at the end of this day by the heads of school and its delivery to the headmaster is an old tradition in the school's history. Not so, you guessed it, it was introduced by Mr. Bowen. And of course the introduction in 2006 of his weekly newsletter, always typed by him on a Sunday, always dispatched by his secretary Yvette first thing on a Monday morning, never one instalment missed. Consistency has been his trademark. He's never missed a concert or school play in his time as deputy head. He's acted as front of house for all of them, never forgetting his last night address to congratulate the cast. He even took part in the school's popular opera Mikado in 1995. And who can forget the comedy double act of Mr. Bowen's Pooh Bah to Tim Taylor's Mikado. Every night was a sellout, and Mr. Bowen's proud boast was he sang with Richie Neville, then Dobson, who made his name in the pop group Five. 10 days ago, he attended his last Lower Fourth camp. Nothing unusual in that, because he's attended every one, as well as every CCF field day and Duke of Edinburgh event, and walked alongside pupils at many gold expeditions. And he's always been a keen supporter of all the team games and sport, on the touchline or the boundary rope, in all seasons, all weathers, every Saturday. His consistency is matched by his generosity with his praise to pupils and staff alike, usually expressed in individual letters that congratulate and encourage, and that in turn have been valued and kept by their recipients. And in return for all this, what do you, the pupils, think of him? No better demonstration than when the netball under-14s at the Nationals presented him with a birthday cake and a t-shirt with the word legend emblazoned on the back. That simply says it all. I speak on behalf of everyone here today when I say, Mr. Bowen, legend you are to pupils, both past and present. We may well ask, why has his influence on the school, the staff, the several thousand pupils and their parents and the wider Bromsgrove community been so striking and long-lasting? I believe the answer is simply given. It is Mr. Bowen's approach to life and work that has enabled him to achieve so much, coupled with an insatiable quest for learning and the enthusiasm to communicate it to others. We all know that so much of the school's ethos is inspired by the qualities of humanity and humility that Mr. Bowen espouses. He has the ability of giving you his undivided attention so that you're made to feel valued and special, coupled with that special gift of helping you raise your expectations of what you can achieve. He leads by example, rarely needing to be forceful, always sympathetic, sensitive and empathetic, when others are perhaps quick to anger and judge. And yet, when the occasion requires, he can, with a simple cast of his eye, deflate the strongest of egos. An old Bromsgrovian wrote, "To incur Mr. Bowen's disappointment was a withering condemnation that was hard to erase from one's memory. So great was our desire not to let him down." His abilities have not gone unnoticed outside of Bromsgrove. When I was chairman of the governors, he asked me my opinion as to an offer of a headship of another prominent school. I was, of course, delighted for him and said that it would be the icing on the cake of a long and successful career. But I was soon to realize that he had no intention of accepting. Not only would it have interrupted Jane's teaching career, but he simply felt that he had more to offer his beloved Bromsgrove. But now the time has come to say our public and our private goodbyes to a great servant and friend of the school. Again, in the words of Matthew Lynch, his time as guardian has come to an end. He is flying to pastures new. His departing will leave us with sadness, but he has taught us well. And we will survive, inspired by his wisdom and guidance. Mr. Bowen's service to the school can be best summed up by the prayer that Mrs. Maund recited in St. John's Church this morning. It is of St. Ignatius of Loyola. To give and not to count the cost, to fight and not to heed the wounds, to toil and not to seek for rest, to labour and not to ask for any reward save that of knowing that he has done thy will. That is our Mr. Bowen, ladies and gentlemen. When another Bromsgrove legend, Headmaster Ralph, left this place 84 years ago, he was presented with a ticket for an around-the-world cruise, entirely paid for by the boys. What's more, there was an old Bromsgrovian to meet and greet him at each port of call. Could such a generous gesture be ever repeated? I'll leave that to you, the pupils. But if it were so in the case of Mr. Bowen, I've no doubt that there would be no shortage of Bromsgrovians worldwide eager to embrace him wherever he travelled. For now, and courtesy of the headmaster's initiative and successful bidding at a certain London auction house, there is a picture that, as the school's history buff, we hope will delight and surprise him at the same time. Because it completes the set of 6 pencil sketches of the school. The other 5 pictures are hung in the school's reception. It's by an artist, Brian de Greneau, that was commissioned by the London Illustrated News in 1953. And the significance of this particular picture is that it is the only one to have been internationally published, and who better to be its recipient than Mr. Bowen. Ladies and gentlemen, Bromsgrovians, while that presentation, hopefully, will be made by the Chairman of the Governors, Stuart Toe, may I ask you to show your appreciation for a great servant and friend of the school, the one and only Mr. Philip Bowen.
He's not quite off the payroll yet, though. It's a great pleasure to ask Mr. Bowen this year, a slight break from tradition, which I hope he will forgive, to read the prizes. Mr. Bowen.
prizes are awarded by the headmaster. The Wattell prizes: English, Emily Kinder; History, Emily Kinder; Religious Studies, Emma Reeves; French, Eleanor Ball; Spanish, Olivia Lyons; Business Studies, Amelia Stokes. Politics, Connie E. Geography, Valerie Poi. Latin, Ellie Saker. Physics, Ellie Saker. Economics, Maximilian Mittermeier. Mathematics, Dania Inetanova. Art, Katrina Walton. Art Textiles, Amelia Stokes. Physical Education, Luke White. Graphics DT, Milton Lau. German, Pavel Poloskin. Other academic prizes: IB German First Language, Marie Kriegler; William Ledbrook Prize for Biology, Aisling Bryn; Amphlett Prize for Chemistry, Dania Inetanova; Philip Denham Cook's Prize for Drama, Niall Hegarty; John Headley Memorial Prize, CCF, Eleanor Ball. Turner Memorial Prize for Music, Lucy Sapwell; Chaytor Pepper Prize for Classics, Classical Civilization, Emily Kinder; Alison Bramley Memorial Prize for Mathematics, Teresa Heidland; Geoffrey Lewins Prize for Technology, Nikita Stepanov. Houseman Verse Prize, Karen Wong; Staff Reading Prize, Olivia Wormold. Special prizes: Senior Boarders, Ben Featherston and Clara Hunt. Deputy Head Boy and Deputy Head Girl, Justin Clegg and Kate Duffy. Head Boy and Head Girl, Niall Hegarty and Emily Colley. The Tony Limbert Award is presented to the person who most closely epitomises everything that Tony himself, head of house in Wendron Gordon, represented in Bromsgrove sport: commitment, determination, endeavour and loyalty. This pupil's commitment to all sports throughout his years at the school has been outstanding, successfully balancing his commitments to several major sports alongside his academic studies, being a splendid head of house as well, who led with great pride and passion. Playing for the first 15 for 2 years, contributing to the team's success with a succession of memorable tries. He was also a very fine member of the first 11 for 4 years, a monumental 162 from 62 balls this term. Golf team, a fine athlete too, and he represents all the traditional values associated with sport, a true sportsman in every sense of the word, a superb role model and an excellent ambassador for our school. Chase Edwards. What sums up a Bromsgrovian? Paul Sawtell did as both pupil and master, and this pupil has made an admirable contribution to numerous aspects of life here. Dedicated to the CCF, an outstanding platoon commander, a talented sportswoman, she represented the school in 6 sports, always with a very happy, enthusiastic approach, with sportsmanship second to none. A highly respected and regarded school and house monitor, unfailingly helpful, reliable, polite, friendly and hard-working. Another exceptional role model for our younger pupils in the school. She's thrown herself wholeheartedly into all things and always wanted to contribute. Emma Lloyd-Jones. Ben Shao was a brilliant actor, and the Rose Bowl to his memory is awarded to a pupil who has made a quite remarkable contribution to school drama. Performances in 5 art trick shows climaxed in a memorable Leontes in the Winter's Tale. Rada Gold, presenter at the History of the School 3 times, and then chosen to read on Radio 4. A legendary debater, his summation speech at the European Youth Parliament was a masterpiece, and so too won in a debate on Scottish independence, when he shredded the deputy headmaster. Always a champion of the spoken word, he has constantly sought ways to raise the profile of debating and drama. And there are young actresses and actors here before me, and debaters, who know of his personal generosity to others, his great encouragement of all. Hamlet, we shall not look upon his like again. Niall Hegarty. Kelly was head girl here and served her school and others with unswerving devotion, and the prize is awarded this year again to someone who's nobly and faithfully served our community. A stalwart captain of cross country, a platoon sergeant in the CCF, where she's been a great mentor and source of inspiration to those under her command. Gold D.V., an outstanding head of the largest house and role model to younger girls. Chamber choir, joint head of chapel choir, orchestra senior boarder. And the great hallmark of her work has been great dedication to the common good. Whilst never losing sight of her own goals, she has put before us a genuine embrace of others and a willingness to be made happy by the well-being of others. And her modesty belies an exceptional contribution to life at our school. Clara Hunt. Finally, the historic Cook's Prize, and this Bromsgrovian has enjoyed an outstanding all-round school career. A fine academic, he heads for Durham to read politics, but outside the classroom, few have been so committed and widely involved. Debating in the national finals of the European Youth Parliament, first 15, Twickenham, a contract with Worcester Warriors. A stalwart of the chapel choir too, and on that famous day at Twickenham, he was double booked, playing Dulwich and singing at Peterborough Cathedral. The second row forward over the bass won that time. The most admirable of deputy head boys, universally respected by his peers, younger pupils and us. He can look back with great pride on what he's achieved and what he's given back to the school. He's one of those who leave the school a better place than he found it. Big-hearted, a great encourager of the young, a considerate young man, above all, a gentleman. He is the epitome of a true Bromsgrovian all-rounder, Justin Clegg.
I'm always very aware at this point that there is only me between you and lunch. But just really to dwell for a moment on the fantastic achievements of the whole school, because this is the family of Bromsgrove. And to hear today all the things that have been achieved, both by individuals and by the school as a whole, I'm sure makes us all hugely proud. We heard today in the service of the development of character, the sense of service, and of values. Philip finished his speech, and his sermon rather, with the words, "Be the people God made you to be." And I think that is really what we seek to do here at Bromsgrove. We also heard yesterday from Kate Duffy, thank you very much Kate, about how really it is important for us all to take the maximum advantage and dive into those opportunities that life and Bromsgrove presents to us. And on the back of the programme from the service yesterday was a prayer called the Sense of Values. And I'd like to read a small part of it to you. Give to us, O Lord, a sense of values and an awareness of true priorities, that we may offer to all their due. To our parents, gratitude and affection. To our friends, loyalty and comradeship. To ourselves, the determination to produce the very best of which we are capable. So, the headmaster has told us we have to train our brain, we have to do our thinking, and I would like you all to have a great summer doing all of those things. Thank you very much.